For anyone that's interested in testing it out, I've put together a new WARDCAM report that adds some costing information to it. So if this is in testing mode, so it'd be interesting to get some feedback as far as whether the information is helpful or other information that you might like to see. So there'd be a couple files that I would email you and just be copied into the appropriate location. And then once they are, first of all, into your database, machine database, whatever machine you're using, it would just point to the new files, and then which will be this the report file, and then the variable file. And then once those are copied over, you go up to your options area, edit variables, and on the reports tab, there'll be some new fields in here. So there's one here, accept waiver. You just have to click this to acknowledge that all times and costs are estimates. And then a button here to be prompted whether you want to print the cost information on the report. So maybe you might want to print up the current report now, which doesn't have any costing information, and send that out to the floor. And maybe you want to print it again with the costing information to go to sales or accounting, whatever you can be prompted whether you want to print that cost information. And then if you don't check that one, then here by default, it'll always print cost information or not. And then down here at the bottom, options to use simple fixed cost numbers or simple other consumable cost numbers. And to go into those more on your machine tab, then there'll be a bunch of new fields related to different costs. So abrasive costs, what you're paying per pound for abrasive, and then if you're not using simple fixed costs, if you want to really delve into what your fixed costs are, you can plug in depreciation period for your machine, how many hours per year you're planning on running it, interest rate or cost of money, cost of your machine, labor rate, overhead per year, how much profit you want per hour. And then if you, on that reports tab, if you choose to use simple fixed cost, then it'll just use whatever number that you plug in down here for your simple fixed cost per hour. And then if you scroll down a little bit more here, past machine rotation, options for non-productive times. This would allow for programming, loading, unloading, things like that. And then what you want to charge for that non-productive time, you might want to charge a lower rate for that or whatever. And then for your variable cost, other than abrasive, which we had up at the top there, then you can plug in things like what you're paying for your abrasive nozzle, average life of your abrasive nozzle. Same thing for high pressure seals, miscellaneous, which would be things like grates and high pressure lines and those sorts of things. Mixing chambers, needles and seats, orifices, and let's see, cost of power, and let's see, miscellaneous things in the pump, which is generally like in the range of $1 to $2 per hour. Other, your cost of your water per gallon, how your pump is being cooled, whether it's water cooled, air cooled, or chiller, and then finally, simple other consumable costs. So if you don't want to get into putting all these variable cost numbers up here, you can instead just plug in a number like $15 an hour to cover all of those sorts of things. So if I choose to use the non-simple fixed costs and other and click on save, and let me go ahead and let's see, I've got the right machine here. We'll just do that and create my file here. Let's just put this on my desktop for right now and make my report. So now down here at the bottom, since I've chosen to print the cost information, so over here on the left, I've got what I've plugged in for my machine cost, what I'd pay for interest over the 5-year life, and overhead, abrasive, and then break down hourly for consumable cost and paying for the machine and interest and labor, overhead, etc. And then on the right here, estimate consumable parts breakdown, fixed cost per hour, non-productive time per hour, or per part, sorry, that's all per part information here. And then finally recommended price to charge for that. So if I chose not to print that information, go back into edit variables and into reports and turn that off, and then do the report again. Then it'll be like the current report where there's no information down there. Or if I want to be prompted to print that, then turn this back on and turn on the prompt. So if I do want to print the cost information, I put a 1 down here. If I don't want to print it, I put a 0. I'll leave it as 1 for right now. And there it is again. And finally, if I choose to just do the simple fixed and variable costs and print it again, then it doesn't give quite the same breakdown down here. So would be interested to get some feedback as far as whether this information would be helpful, if there is other information that you'd like to see down here. This doesn't exclude right now material costs. I'm thinking maybe in the future I'll take these numbers up here, and we'd have to have a field somewhere where we could plug in cost of material and could potentially factor in material costs, but that's not in there for right now. So if you're interested in testing this out, please let me know. And you can email me at jday, just the letter J, D-A-Y, @wardjet.com. Thanks.